How
Giampaolo
are you?
Pioli, I'm editor-in-chief of Voce di New York. We met even during summertime at the Greece community down in the Hampton. And thank you very much for your time, because this is the second interview that we have with you, and all the Italian-American community is very pleased to do that. I don't see you, but it's okay. I'm sure you're there, right? Because I
Yes.
see. Okay. Now I see your image. And I'm so sorry, and all my condolences for the loss of Pedro Fresneda. It was a friend of ours, and so it's a very terrible loss, I imagine, for your team and stuff. Anyway,
Yeah.
I want to start with you with the rats. Okay, it's a year that you have a rat czar, Mrs. Kathleen Corradi, and we still see rats in many places. Do you think it's working now with the sterilization? It will be much better. Are you optimistic, or I don't know?
Extremely optimistic. And we hired Kathleen Karate. She is known as our rat czar, and she's been really leading the effort to reduce the population for a year now. And the progress is clear. We're winning the war on rats, but connected to the biggest increase in victories is to get rid of the plastic bags on our street. The sanitation commissioner, Commissioner Tish, she jokingly state that they are all you can eat but buffets, and people don't realize that that is really the rat problem. And so we said no to the status quo. We've gotten 7 billion pounds of trash to share off our streets and into lidded containers. We're going to containerize this entire city. And as a result, rat sightings for 311 have been down in 11 out of the 12 months since our trash revolution began. They're down more than 6% across the city and nearly 15% in our rat mitigation zone. So it's a real victory for us. And the Rat Czar is working with all of our agencies to get the results we're looking for. And so we're looking to improve from our schools to NYCHA to our parks. We have been extremely successful, but the more and more you see the results of containerizing our garbage, you're going to see the results that all of us are looking for.
Yes. And do you think that the selecting a different kind of trash, that will help also?
No, not at all. Not at all. If you were to walk down a neighborhood in our city, you'll see that much of the rats are running from out of the plastic bags. They come out of the sewers, go right to the plastic bags. That has been the primary source of food for rats in the city.
Okay. And I'm going to change the subject, because even in this one, you must be optimistic also. The congestion traffic, the $15 that will take effect in June. Now I see just today in some media, many media, that Democrat and Republican are trying to merge together, if from different states, to oppose to this measure. Do you think will be successful? Do you think will be too much? Do you think it can be postponed after the election? I don't know. Just not to affect your campaign, for example.
Well, let's be clear. This is not a city bill. This bill was passed by the state and given the authority to the MTA. And so I would have hoped, since the streets are in New York, that the city council and the mayor of the city would have come together, define the program. But we have to fully respect whatever comes out of Albany, because they control the entire states. And so, as you stated, that June 30th will be the beginning of congestion pricing. We were able to fight and win some victories. We were able to get $100 million for those communities that are going to be impacted by the transit, by the traffic. We were able to get rates reduced, free for school buses for low-wage employees if you make under $60,000 a year. So there were some things, some victories we were able to get, but it's the law of the land, and it's really about now we have to comply with the law that the state handed down with the impact of the MTA.
But is he in the power of the city? It means in your power, your administration, to have more category that can be excluded or discounted in the price? You said worker with the low income, other people, but other category, the old people, for example, is this just what is the criteria to facilitate the people that they don't have to pay this $15 a day every time, especially if they are not lucky that live midtown or downtown?
Well, you know, those who live in the area, they too are charged a rate, and there's nothing we can do as a city because,
Okay.
as I stated, it is a state law that was given the authority to the MTA, and the law is here. No one enjoys having to pay more, but it's the law of the land now, and on June 30th, it is going to be put in place.
Okay. Another question that I'm sure it will interest very much, or if not affect your future campaign for re-election: immigration. The immigrant, the problem, they come to City Hall, they protest in front of your building there, they're kind of dispersed. There are good news in some other big city in the US where immigrant that they get a visa to work, they're working, so they kind to return to the city with the benefit that they get being hosted by them. What's going to happen in New York? Because are we less compared with Chicago? Are we, in which stage are we? What is your assessment of this situation here?
Well, when we talk about immigrants, there are different classifications. There are the migrants and asylum seekers. Many of them are coming through the southern border, although they're coming from all over the globe, including West Africa, China, Russian-speaking areas. They are paroled into the country, so they're here legally. But we have an immigrant population that's undocumented. They are in the hundreds of thousands. But both groups are trying to pursue the American dream. And what they should be allowed to do, if you're in this country, particularly legally, you should be allowed the right to work. And it's unfortunate that the federal government does not allow me to give authorization to work to migrants and asylum seekers. I can't even allow them to volunteer and get a stipend. So if I want a migrant and asylum seekers to help sweep our streets or fix the graffiti problem or any other service, I cannot pay them to volunteer to do that. I think that's a big mistake. But when you look at 191,000 migrants and asylum seekers that have arrived here, we put in our proposed 30-day plan. That's how long we're going to allow them to stay in our shelter. Over 65% have moved on to taking their next step in the American journey. Many have moved to other cities where they have family members, and others have found a way, like so many immigrants have in the past. Now, let's keep in mind that immigrants contribute billions of dollars to our economy each year. They do many low-wage jobs, such as food service, agriculture work, the horsing industry. So they add value to our city, but it would be better if they were able to work. So the city of New York can't stop the buses from coming in. That would be against federal law. We cannot say we're not going to give people 3 meals a day and a place to sleep. That would be against state and city law. And we cannot give them the authorization to work. That is a federal authorization.
You went to Washington a couple of times to try to solve or address this subject. What did you get the answer? Which answer did you get from White House, President Biden or so?
Because I went to Washington 10 times.
10 times.
Right. And each time we were only able to walk away with a little at a time. One, we were able to get about a little over $100 million but the price tag is $4 billion. So it
Yeah,
doesn't
I mean,
near,
symbolic, yeah.
right, what we need. We were able to get more immigrants to get what's called temporary protected status. That was a pathway to being able to work, but it's only just dealing with Venezuelans who came in at a particular period of time. So that's not nearly enough. But we're continuing to tell the federal government that we need your help and input to solve this problem.
And the situation is getting worse and worse because you cannot stop the buses, because many other governors can send you other people from Texas or from some other places, you know, just for fun. I don't know. But you cannot do nothing. You're paralyzed on this, basically.
Right.
Or you have $100 million to play with, but it's...
right. We're not happy about it, but we made do. We dropped the population from the number of people we were expected. We thought we would have over 100,000 people in our care, but because of the work we've done, we only have about 60-something thousand, and many have gone on to the next step of their journey. In our city, we don't have one child or family sleeping on the streets of the city of New York.
Okay. Another question is related to this, is that how much it costs an immigrant to the city of New York? The 3 meals a day, shelter for 30 days, and let's hope that they find this way.
It was so, thus far, we spent over $4 billion in handling this situation. We're projected, we thought we would spend 12 billion, but because we decreased the population substantially and we have brought down the cost of our services, the total appeared to be around 10 billion now.
Right, but do you have an individual cost per day of an immigrant? Let's say kid that has to go to school, or someone that has to go to the hospital, or has to eat 3 times a day. How much is it? $700 per day, $300 per day, $200 per day, more or less? Can we have an idea of this?
Yeah, it's added the cost of hotels, the cost of cleaning, the cost of food, the cost of educating over 38,000 children. And so all of those costs break down. You have to pay for security guards. All of they break down. It could be anywhere in the area around $300 a day when you start doing all the math.
Okay. And listen, another issue is housing. For people in Manhattan, people outside of Manhattan, young people, they want to find a place and the rent is so high. What is the solution? Do you have a plan? I know that you have a project, but what do you think will be the most achievable one?
Yeah, the way we deal with our housing crisis is to build more housing. We have a 1.4% vacancy rate. We need to have a vacancy rate up to about 7%, because there's anything, supply versus demand. Whenever the supply is less, the demand is going to be high. If the demand, I should say, is not there. And so what we have done, we partnered with Albany. We had an amazing support from Albany. I talk about some of the things that Albany stops us from doing, but here's one of the things that they have helped us in doing. And so we're going to be able to build more housing. Our goal is to build 500,000 more units of housing by 2030. And we're on a pathway with this new proposal, which I'm extremely pleased about. It's going to allow us to build in those areas that traditionally did not have affordable housing units. So it should be very successful. And if we can get what we call the City of Yes package passed in the city council, we can be successful in building more with both these tools that the city council and the state lawmakers have given us.
You said 500,000 housing
Unit.
2000 apartment 2030. But for example, in which area will be located those 500,000 units?
Great
Manhattan
question.
also?
Great question. Throughout the entire city, our goal is to build a little more housing in every city. So if you're a neighborhood where you have access to good schools, good transportation, quality food, good medical care, you should be willing to build more housing in your community.
That means that it's not going to happen in Manhattan, outside
Yes,
Manhattan.
Manhattan also. Manhattan also.
Manhattan, not just around the city, the big city, but not in Manhattan. Okay. And the last, not the last, but the another question is this: 2025, you rerun for your position, I suppose, right?
Yes.
So you start collecting. You have some problem with the investigation regarding the financial of your campaign. But my question is, who do you think will be your most dangerous or threatening adversary? Andrew Cuomo, that is moving to the right a little bit in order to collect some more votes?
Well,
Who else?
I said it last campaign that I need to be focused on getting the message out to the voters. You remember last campaign, it was a crowded field.
Oh,
We
yeah,
had
no.
people who were successful in many policies, but I won the hearts and the minds of blue collar working class people. I'm going to do that again. As long as we can keep this city as the safest big city in America, continue to bring jobs here. We have more jobs in the history of the city. Tourists is back, 62 million tourists, a decrease in homicides and shootings. We are seeing the city not coming back, but the city's back, and we did it within 2 years. That is extremely impressive. And even the independent fiscal monitors have raised our bond rating because we're making the tough decisions, but the right decisions and placing the city on the right path.
You pay great attention to many ethnic community in the city and around the city. The Italian American community, do you think will be pivotal for your re-election, or maybe can tilt toward an Italian American like Cuomo?
Well,
if he runs?
there's always pride that one has in a community when they see someone from their community moving forward. I don't know what the field is going to look like. Many people say they're going to run, but not everyone shows up on election day. I need to stay focused on ensuring the city recovers. That's what I'm going to do. We're going to be the safest, cleanest big city in America where families can be proud to raise families here in the city.
1,200 more police on the street and the subways. Do you think is enough to guarantee the safety of the city or of Manhattan and the neighborhood, or you need more?
Well, there were a number of things that I had to do when I came into office to stop the hemorrhaging and loss of police officers, and that was to give them the salary they deserve. We did just that. We were able to settle the NYPD contract, and police officers voted on that contract, and we received about a 95% ratification from the contract. And the next thing is let officers know that we support them as they do this dangerous work. And we are doing that every day. You see what they're doing around all the protesters and fighting crime, removing thousands of guns off our streets. Of the 1,200 cops, 2 new classes, 600 per class, is a real investment in public safety, because public safety, that's the prerequisite of our prosperity.
Right. And Columbia University is occupied by a couple of hundred of tents. I know that you express yourself pretty clear. What is the solution for you in order to solve the freedom of expression and the freedom of being educated freely and without threat from one side or the other? And do you think that really these demonstrators are violent, or are simply students young with some more radical than others?
Well, protesting and the right to protest is one of the foundational aspects of our country. We believe in the freedom of speech. It is unfortunate that some people exploit that freedom by saying immoral things, to call for the eradication or harm to any group is not what this country is about. There's no room for hate in our city and country. And when you see people celebrating the action of Hamas and the actions of other violent people, that is not who we are. And so we're hoping that those who are protesting disassociate themselves from those who are spewing out hate and disgusting rhetoric about our Jewish brothers and sisters. I would not want that to happen to Italian Americans, African Americans, or any other group. This is not a city where you fight for something by calling for the destruction of someone. That is not who we are.
You, because they take good care of the international community. Chinese American, how do you consider them in the city?
I'm
Like
sorry, how do I do what?
yeah, the Chinese American community. They're very
Yeah.
big. They're very powerful in a way. They're very eradicated and they have their own. Do you consider them at the same level of the others, or do you think that those represent a risk for the city?
Well, I've been to China 6 times. I've had great relationship with the Chinese community. And during COVID, the Chinese monks supplied hundreds of thousands of PPEs for inner city communities, underserved communities. They have been a real benefit during that time. And although they went through a painful moment during COVID, when they were attacked and criticized by others because of the terminology, COVID was a Chinese religion, Chinese
Origin,
disease.
yeah.
Yes, but I am really proud of the relationship I have with the Chinese community. They have been supportive of me in previous years. I look forward to their support in the years to come.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your time. I see you next year, if not before. Okay. Thank you very
Yes,
much.
you
I
take care.
appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.